So this video is a real screw up. What I thought I was working on was a neck and headstock for a 4-string fretted cigar box guitar. But what I realized after I videotaped it was that you don't want to use a 1x2 for the neck of a fretted instrument, because by the time you glue a 1/4 inch thick fingerboard onto it, it ends up being way too thick. I know this from experience because the 4-string that I built years ago that I still play in a lot of these videos, it's like wrapping your hand around 2x4. It kind of sucks. So I am going to get back into that 4-string fretted project eventually, but I need to get a thinner piece of wood again, so it's not a Louisville slugger once the fingerboard's glued to it. However, it does show how I would shape the headstock for a fretless cigar box. So with that in mind, check it out. So when I left off, I had glued some hunks of wood together to make the headstock for this guitar. I forget what everything is. I think the neck is maple. These little strips here are red oak, and I'm not really sure what these are. Or maybe something's mahogany in there. I don't know. It doesn't matter now. So the next step is to make the headstock a little bit thinner, because the posts on the tuning machines are not long enough to go through this like 3/4 inch of wood. They'll just stick out about that much if you just drill holes and stick them through here. So I have to take this down to about 1/2 inch thick so the tuning machines will work properly. So the first thing I have to do is shave off a little bit of wood right here and get it as close to a 90-degree angle with the neck as I can possibly get it. So I'm going to use the miter saw, and since this sticks out and I don't know how straight these are, I have clamped another board to the side of it, so I'm going to use that as my guide, and then go over to the saw and just take a 1/4 inch off of this. Quick tip: use your hearing protection. Now my glasses are big enough that I kind of have the eye thing covered, but we're making musical instruments here. You don't want to sacrifice your sense of hearing to the tools you're using to make the instruments, because then you can't hear them as well. Go figure. So this is actually my 3rd attempt at doing that, because I was trying to use my hands to hold the wood in place, and frankly my hands weren't strong enough and it kept shifting. So this is kind of at a weird angle. So what I've done is got out the big clamp and clamped it to the saw so it doesn't move. So this is about as close to a 90-degree angle with the neck that I'm gonna get. Now comes the part where I start doing stuff a little bit probably incorrectly. The proper way I think you would do this is to have a dado blade stack on your table saw, and nice wide cut, and just start set it for about a 1/4 inch and just start taking out nice big chunks of this to get it down to a 1/2 inch thick. I don't have a dado blade stack, so I have just a regular blade on the table saw. So I'm going to set the guard to have, this will go up against the guard. I will set it so the blade comes right to the end of the headstock, the future headstock. And then basically, very carefully, because I don't want to get hurt, start passing it over the blade in different places just to take all that wood out. If you have proper equipment and knowledge of how to do this for real, do it that way. I'm showing you what I do. I'm not telling you to do this too. You got to be careful with this stuff, because this is an old table saw. That feature that, if the blade gets near your finger, it'll stop. This one ain't got that. Fun fact about this old table saw is that the on and off switch is stuck in the on position. So what I've done is plug it into a power strip, and I use the power strip as the on and off switch. I'm going to be, it was duct taped to the leg there, but it fell off. I'm going to tape it here again in a minute. And for the part where I'm setting the blade height and everything, you'll notice it's not even plugged in. So I'm figuring out about where I want it to cut, start cutting. I'm going to move the guard to bring it up to the headstock, the end of the headstock. Well, I did that and ended up with this. Doesn't look very good. I'm gonna have to clean it up a little bit with a saw. Also, as much as I was trying to really keep this pressed flat against the table saw, it got angled up a few times and I took off a lot more than I intended to. Now, fortunately, I kind of gave myself some extra wood up here to work with. I think I'm going to go with a more traditional headstock shape than the ones I do with that kind of have that hook shape going on. I'm going to do something a little more simple than that, and hopefully this won't even come into play, or it can just be like the, you know, tapered off edge of the headstock and not down here where the tuning machines have to be. But I'm going to clean this up with the table saw, and then when I sand it down, hopefully it'll, you know, look really nice. Or I get to start over the whole thing. So I kind of did a little pre-sanding just now. I don't even know what grit that sandpaper was, probably 220 or something, just to see if there was any hope for this headstock at all. And I think it is going to smooth down. You know, I'll hit it with some 100 grit and then the 220 and then the 400 later. But the next thing I'm going to do is sketch out the headstock design and cut it out. So this is going to kind of get into that part that I messed up, but I think it'll be okay because the tuners are going to be basically in this area. This part's not really going to come into play. So I'm using this old school desk as a work table of sorts, and since I'm going to be using the jigsaw, got that part hanging off the edge, and I'm going to clamp it to the inside so it doesn't move around a lot. anyway, there's the sort of roughed in headstock. Got more of a curve on this side than this side. I'll try clean that up with either the saw or once I find my Dremel tool, I might just, you know, use that to shape it. So actually I made a big mistake, and I should have known better because I've done this before. I sketched out the headstock on the side has the full thickness of the piece of wood, instead of sketching it out on the back where the jigsaw would be nice and flat the whole time and not run into any obstacles like this thing here. So little PS about how I screwed up, but I think it'll turn out okay.